Okay, so I'm outside for like the first time and I'm holding my mic in my hand, and I know it might be a bit windy and also the light might change because natural lighting and manual settings, but hopefully this works out okay. I recently found out about this town called Geel in Belgium, and for hundreds of years the residents have been known to take in mentally ill people, even some severely mentally ill people, and refer to them as guests and boarders, and they care for them. And I was reading about a couple who had accommodated several boarders over the years, and one of them had been very affectionate with the wife, which caused some friction or tension in their marriage. But they still kept on doing the work that they were doing because they acknowledged the affection that the boarder was showing as just a part of who the boarder was. And it was challenging, yes, but they accepted it. The same with another boarder who would lock themselves in the bathroom to vigorously wash their hands, or another boarder they had who would see lions coming out of the wall. They didn't see these behaviors or these things as abnormal or strange. They just saw them for what they were, which were their boarders' feelings and their boarders' behaviors, a part of who they were. For the boarder who would see lions coming out of the walls, they would pretend to chase those lions away. And for the boarder that was very affectionate, they encouraged him to get a girlfriend or seek some other form of companionship. And this boarder program that they do in Geel is an example of radical acceptance. But in this video, I want to talk a bit about radical self-acceptance, so it's similar but a little bit different. I wasn't going to do this outside, I wasn't going to film outside today because there's a serial thief in the area who's been robbing people during the day, and I think a guy even got stabbed, so I was a bit nervous to bring my DSLR outside because it's just putting a target stamp on my head. But I did it anyway because when I planned this video, I was I'm gonna film it outside because it just felt right. It just felt nice to talk about it outside. And so yeah, I wanted to film outside, so I guess you could call it recklessness or stupid or whatever, but I'm trying to not allow fear to control my actions. If I want to do something, I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna try and do it. So if you're watching this, then hello. I either didn't get robbed or I did, but I managed to convince them to let me keep my SD card. So silver linings, whatever. Anyway, for the past year or so, I've been trying to actively live by the mentality, or I guess the rule of not allowing fear to dictate what you do or where you go or the things you do in this life. And for me, as someone who gets quite anxious, especially in social situations and stuff, and having a tendency to run away from things or to avoid things, especially if they're people related, it was really difficult for me to be on this journey. And at the start of it, I used alcohol as a kind of coping mechanism or as a tool to help me avoid feeling that fear and doing the things that I wanted to do. And obviously that had its own problems and its own issues that I'm not going to go into this video. Right now I want to talk about self-acceptance, which is a practice that I just recently discovered and that I've been trying to follow over the past few weeks. Okay, radical acceptance is about accepting things as they are, be it thoughts, feelings, behaviors, people, mannerisms, just anything, just accepting things for what they are. And in the Psychology Today article that I was reading, it defined radical acceptance as being completely and totally accepting of something from the depths of your soul, with your heart and your mind. You stop fighting reality. So radical self-acceptance would be to be completely accepting of yourself from the depths of your soul, or rather deeply accepting of yourself with everything that you have. I feel like I prefer that. And it means accepting your perceived flaws, be it your body or your personality or your behavior or your feelings. It's not to agree with negative or harmful aspects of yourselves and to be complacent about things that you want to change. It's just to acknowledge them in a non-judgmental and in a kind way, and to learn from them instead of allowing them to make like to make us feel worse or to make us behave in a way that we would regret. For me, like I mentioned before, I get really anxious, especially in social situations, and I end up feeling a lot of shame and a lot of disgust, and then all that does is cause me to feel even more anxious and to feel even worse about myself. But radical self-acceptance would encourage me in those situations, instead of berating myself or instead of allowing myself to be overcome with those negative emotions, to instead acknowledge that I'm nervous right now and to acknowledge that that I messed up my speech, or that my mind went blank and there was like an awkward silence or whatever, and to just accept that that's how I am and that's who I am, and not allow it to make me feel even worse. Like, it just encourages you to think objectively and to acknowledge reality without making you feel like shit, for lack of a better way to describe it. To acknowledge like the awkward silences or whatever, and to be okay with it. Like, by all means, try to improve and take notes of the things that you could, do better next time, to work on feeling less anxious and being the person that you want to be. But in the moment, not harboring negative feelings about myself or about yourself or about ourselves, and accepting ourselves for who and for what we are, which sounds super hard and sounds like it would take ages, but I feel like all journeys, like all personal and all spiritual journeys, they always end up taking loads of time. But there are like, what is that word? There's like check marks, or there's like goal points, but there are like periods in our lives where we reach a point where we realize that we've made like quite significant progress, and I feel like that's what I'm aiming for right now, to get to that checkpoint or whatever. Anyway, I zoned out a little bit, let me zone back in. But yeah, I feel like it's one of those things that you have to constantly remind yourself to do, like reprogramming your brain, like what you do with affirmations and stuff, to try and get yourself to think more positively about yourself and about the world around you. It's kind of one of those things, and I feel like it can only be achieved through practice. Like, you're not going to wake up and suddenly be completely okay with every single part of ourselves. We have to keep reminding ourselves in those situations that it's okay for us to be how we are, that we are enough, that yeah, we're feeling this negative thing right now, well yeah, we behaved in that way or we did that thing, but I don't know, just to treat things objectively and to just accept them. Anyway, I just keep imagining like what it would be like to dedicate the same respect and the same acceptance towards every aspect of myself, and acknowledging it, and acknowledging like every part of myself for solely what it is, like the host families in Geel do for their borders, like not berating or hating myself any further, but accepting everything for what it is, and then just learning from that and growing from that without those, I don't want to call them unnecessary, but without those unproductive negative emotions that we tend to feel, as a response to the parts of ourselves that we don't particularly like, or the behaviors that aren't particularly useful. And it just sounds like such an amazingly freeing way to be. And for me, like, you guys should let me know what your goals are if you wanna, but for me, one of my main goals on this earth is to be as free as I possibly can. But anyway, this is probably going to be a pretty short video, and I just wanted to end it with 3 affirmations I've collected that have been quite helpful for me, and they have been: I have nothing to prove, I am happy with who I am, and the last one is I am enough and that is not up for debate. And I think I actually heard that from the Slumflower. But anyway, if you made it to the end of this, then thanks for watching. Feel free to share, your thoughts and opinions on radical self-acceptance, or even on radical acceptance, and if it's something that you would like to live by, or something you would like to try, or something that you're already trying to do. And yeah, just let me know what you thought. And boy.